Hello, Acer lovers. It's Carl here. Just want to share a trip I did a couple of weeks ago to Westonbirt Arboretum. Again, appreciating there's viewers from all over the world, but this is such a classic. According to the Mr. Maple guys in America, this is the biggest planting of acers in the West, basically, which is pretty impressive. Really nice place to go, and also features this lovely aerial walkway. Takes you across the trees. There's Sharon, just obviously took her along for the day as well. We've been here many times actually, but it's about 80 miles from where we live, so not too far. But it's been absolutely fantastic, and during the pandemic and lockdowns and stuff, it's been open most of the time because it's wide open. So that's been a real, somewhere nice to go. So you have a vast array of trees here. The place is hundreds of years old, literally. So it's a very impressive place to be. Just to focus on this tree to start with, it is an Acer, but actually it's a Norway. So just to show that, we know and love Japanese Acers, but these trees come from all over the world. This may be familiar to you in North America. This is definitely not a Japanese Acer. They've had a little bit of fun there with the school kids writing things on the tree, and if that's not enough giveaway, this is an Acer saccharinum, which is the where we get maple syrup from, basically. So what's not to like about that? You may have noticed there, 1876 that was established. That's just crazy. So on to the Acers. The variety is just ridiculous, and I've had to cut out numerous ones in this video to stop it just going on for a ridiculous amount of time. You'll see all over the place cultivars that you just don't know. I don't know. They probably date back many years. Some have gone out of fashion. Who knows, really? But as you go onto the Arboretum itself, if you head on to the keep to the left hand side of the Arboretum, that's the newer trees. So you see, this is a pentaphyllum from 2017. It really is quite new. Many of the trees here sort of date back 20, 30 years, so they're more recognisable. On the right-hand side of Westonbirt Arboretum, there's a fantastic selection of trees. Yes, some are most definitely recognisable. Actually, many of them are detailed as Atropoporium, and that's because they are actually the seedlings of the original plantings from over 150 years ago. So even the maple, some of them have unfortunately died over time. But what they did, there's a lovely plaque actually in the other side of the Arboretum, and they talk about how they have retrieved loads and loads of seedlings and picked the best one to replant them. But here we have something like Orange Dream, which we know and love. So these are kind of the ones that I know from kind of, the last 20, 30 years, I suppose, and the ones that you may see in the nurseries and be able to buy. There's some lovely, lovely specimens. Sangukaku, they're one of my favourites, as you'll know. As you can see, there's dates on them, which is really interesting. You may see my video on Westonbirt Arboretum, which is lovely. These are the same labels because it's actually part of the same group. So if you join Batsford, you can come here free of charge, and if you can also go visit the Botanical Gardens in Birmingham, which is lovely. I mean, some of these have grown so much over so many years that the sort of shapes and the vastness and the contoured nature of them is really, really impressive. But it does offer superb value for money, and for those other parts of the world, I'm sure you can find places like this. I do like to see them in their sort of full mature sort of glory, as well as collecting them for my own little garden, really. The way they're just crazy trees, going all over the place, all sorts of shapes. So this is a dissectum, which is always nice. So something very familiar. You also have fairly mature trees here of this kind of size as well. So some of them are sort of dwarf cultivars, but over many years they still reach a decent height. But again, some of them are reasonably familiar, and Benny Sheehan, I'm sure I've seen that available. I must say that as lovely though Westonbirt is at this time of year, there are many, many kind of sort of palmate green leaf varieties. So it's quite nice to see some of these different sorts here. This is a lineolobium maple, which has got those long, thin leaves that I quite like. Actually, they're rather different. And again, it's just spectacular just to walk down some of these avenues of trees. Basically, the way they're planted is many of them are actually underplanted underneath great big trees from all over the world. So they provide a really good shelter and a good environment for them. Yeah, another one. Don't know it, um, but beautiful nonetheless. Just magnificent, really. Again, very very broad leaves here, as you probably will realise it's a sort of Shiroswanum. It's a full moon maple. So look at the trunk on there. It's just gorgeous after many many years. As I said, there's some small additions too. Um, they have to protect them from sort of grazing animals and stuff like that. So hence um, the protection around the sides. This is peaches and cream, which I've got, and again you've got those lovely reticulated leaves. So they do sort of stand out versus some of the other trees that are there. More sort of classic sort of twisting shapes, and you see new growth. It's nice to see they're still sort of thriving. And then just include that as a Benny Mako, which I've got a sort of tiny, tiny version of. But there, 2009, it's still a very manageable sized plant, really, planted out in the ground. So just shows that with careful sort of choosing the right cultivar, you can certainly keep a tree for many, many years without any issues, really. That's one that's a witch's broom, so that's been found growing on another tree, essentially. Very strange, but it's a genetic defected branch that has been grafted on and produced another Acer. In very interesting sort of red branches there. That's one of the Corallinum group. Very interesting red bark, as I say, really. Nice to see some sort of the rather lacy ones here. So again, definitely included this one because it's really very popular. So it's emerald lace. A funny angle on that because I had to lift all the leaves out the way to actually get to the name badge. Again, it's not always easy to appreciate, but some of the colours really stand out against each other. I think this has kept his red colour really well, actually. This is Emperor. I think there's other varieties like Emperor 1 and other derivatives, but that's done really well, actually. I do like I say these little sort of long leaf varieties. They do add some more interest to a garden. And look at all those little seedlings. That's Villa Taranto, which I think I have seen before. Um, lovely, lovely little tree, and one I'd probably be on the lookout for, to be honest. It's a really nice day. You struck lucky, really. I'm doing this in part because I will almost certainly go back to Westonbirt, or indeed, if not, if I didn't manage it, I've got sort of archive shots of Westonbirt in sort of October. It's the only place I know where the entrance fee goes up in October, which in the UK is usually the sort of best and peak time for the for maples to show their autumn colours. Nice to see some of these variegated ones actually doing very well. They had that again that extra interest. So again, like one of my other videos, I think some trees just look their best perhaps in the autumn, some the best in the spring, but some just look quite nice all year round. So the sort of golden colours on this tree, really impressed. It's called Autumn Glory, so I suppose I should go back in the autumn and verify that. Nice growing habits on some of these as well. Again, amongst a sea of green, they perhaps haven't got the autumn colours yet, they haven't got the spring interest, but it's nice to see their sort of unique habits or sort of shine through, really. You see the ages of the trees is pretty similar, so 20-25 odd years old, which keeps it in reasonable modern times. This is just a little pan around of what Westonbirt looks like. Not a Japanese garden, unashamedly, really. It's a planting of trees, but you can see there, I did this just to give you an idea that you've got much bigger trees towering above them, which actually offer a really nice growing situation for them. So this is one of my favourite trees actually, but a little bit overgrown. I just wanted to get the clippers out and tidy up around it a bit, really. But that's Jerry Swartz. I must say, because that's been in loads and loads of shade, it's looking really green where mine looks really pink. So I'll vote for mine on this occasion, I think. Another nice little example here. Again, those leaves are a little bit interesting, and to say, come the peak of summer, that's perhaps what we're looking for. Another corallinum. And of course, because it's a sort of fairly modern planting, you will see quite a few familiar names, which is lovely, really. Love the habit of this one. Again, it's a bit sort of standard sort of green leaves, but they are quite deep cut, which is lovely. Elegans, which I've seen again in other gardens, really. There's one of those in Batsford, so it isn't that surprising, being it's a sort of sister place. And of course, one of my favourites here, lovely kind of like drooping long leaves, sort of bamboo, but with extra interest, I suppose. It's Koto no Ito, which I really like. Really good in full sun, that particular cultivar as well, actually. So just maybe one to look out for. Included this one because it just sort of shows you how things change. That's Tsushimagaki, which in the spring has really sort of purpley fringes to the leaves. So that's probably one that's not quite so good in the summer, but good in the spring. So just shows how you can perhaps mix things up a bit. Just the sun's pouring through the trees with the different colours, looks absolutely gorgeous. Again, absolute favourite here. You can just actually shower in the dwarf by the size of this tree. It's the only upright, as far as we're aware, lace leaf. Of course, it's Siryu. Really strong grower, really sun tolerant. Lots to like about this tree. But say it's 84. It's 40 years old, but it really has put on some growth. Whereas some of these, many years old, but much smaller, really. Yeah, fire glow. That looked really pretty, actually, with the light shining through it. And again, very similar age to the Koto no Ito, but totally different size. Right, we're getting to the end now. One or two more. So this is Shiraz that's has kept a bit of its pink colour, actually, which is nice. Probably because it's quite a sheltered little spot there. And just one or two more. again, just has that extra bit of interest really. So it caught my eye, I suppose. Vandermoss Red, what a wonderful name. So you've also got some of these sort of classic lace leaves here. Again, much more compact, weeping habit, and has done pretty well to retain much of its redness over the summer. They will kind of go green towards the end, really. So that's of course Crimson Queen. And this is from the other side of the Arboretum, to be fair, but I couldn't help but include this. This is the paperbark maple, Aeta grisium. And it's just crazy. And this one was brought into the country from China decades ago, really, almost 100 years ago. And I suspect he's the kind of the great grandfather of many of the trees that of this type, including the one I've got, which is kind of nice to know. And just say that this is the tree that really catches your eye at this time of year. They're all lovely, but it's just got that red, fiery glow to it, and the sun. It just loves, really. You get those the reds, the oranges, the greens, and that was of course Sangukaku. This is my garden in a few years if I don't prune well enough. And just to close, just to say, do go and visit if you're in the UK. Hope you've enjoyed that, and we'll be back in a few weeks with the autumn version of many of the same trees, actually. So just thought I'd do this so we can compare and see what happens in the autumn at Westonbirt. But if you do live anywhere in the UK, it's well worth a visit. Take care.